Hi, this is Amy Lewis. This is Engineers Unplugged. Hi, this is Amy Lewis, Cisco Marketing, and we're here for another episode of Engineers Unplugged. Today we've got Colin and Jay, and we're talking about continuous delivery and SD everything. So let's find out what's going on here. Jay, take it away.
Thank you very much, Amy. Colin, good to have you here, man.
Glad to be here.
So I know we've actually gone ahead and drawn some stuff on the board, and we can probably speak to it a little bit. I'm going to introduce kind of the old school way of thinking of the world of I have a project management timeline. I've got a number of things I'm going to accomplish. They're going to have certain tie lines that come down. At some point, I develop some software. Maybe I want to start testing. Maybe I can get that accomplished in a single month, and maybe if I'm lucky, by the following month or two, I can actually start thinking about putting this into production. And this waterfall approach, tell me a little bit about how you would contrast or compare that to what you've drawn on your side.
So interestingly enough, this ties into software development lifecycle, right? And I think it's worth calling out though. We're talking about continuous delivery, but also software-defined everything, software-defined networking system storage. So this is, I would say, an antiquated way of creating software. It's old, it's slow, but really, this is what IT is mapped into. You hear about ITIL? It really maps into this process. What I've drawn here is what's called a delivery pipeline, right? So this notion of going from maybe one production deployment every 30 days to some companies that started in Silicon Valley in 2009, a guy named John Alspaugh from Flickr, but some companies are actually deploying into production 10, 20, 100 times a day. Applications, server storage, virtualization, all tied into one. And it's this ability to, since all your infrastructure is defined via code, to check in code into your system and actually run it through an automated suite of tests, regression testing, user acceptance testing, and drive it right into production, commonly with tools like Puppet and Chef.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, when we talk about this, I've got a very simple diagram. Yeah. It's pretty straightforward. You've got a lot of steps in here, and I'm assuming that's a lot of work or activity on the part of these developers. Surely there's got to be a better way to accomplish that. So what are some of the tools you might run into?
Well, it's methodologies and tools. So as a network systems or storage engineer is starting to exist in a software-defined world, there's a shift to test-driven development that every feature that I write for my storage array, for my virtualization platform, maybe I'm exposing a block device to my production application, that if I'm going to check source code in which says connect this VM to this block, well, I'm actually going to also write a test to make sure that it's successfully connected. Now, for the lifetime of that feature in your application, in your production environment, that test will always run. Every change. That test that something you did at 3 a.m. 2 years ago, yeah, if it's actually running as part of that production app, will always be tested. Now this goes through a series of lightweight stages that you can run on your laptop sometimes, to a QA, a heavy stage where it deploys to something like production, to a full copy of your production network. Right, so a lot of these tools, if you look at the APIs that are exposed from vBlock into Cisco, VMware, EMC's products, allow the system to automatically hook in, and then now you've deployed a full copy of your system using the same code. Well, all you do is pop that right into production. You know you've tested 100%. It sounds complicated, and it's a little bit complicated to set up, but your software development teams may already be using this.
And so if I was to point to, let's say I get into this part, what happens if this fails? Where do I go after it fails?
So what's really cool here is that the goal of a continuous deployment pipeline is to fail early and to fail before you hit production. You want to not have bugs when you come into production, and if you do have to get something, you want to get through this pipeline in minutes, right? So if I fail a functional test here, this checkbox here, it'll turn to a frowny face, right? And this frowny face means, okay, well, you failed functional test 2, and you go right to the beginning of the pipeline. You fix your code. Remember, your infrastructure is defined by code now. Fix it, and then you deploy right through. Here's the key thing. You didn't find out that flaw in production.
Right. And so we're going faster, and this approach, where does someone instrument or look at, once it's in production, how do I know if my production environment is also, like, this is the systems, the network, increasingly software defined. Are we going to see this also now showing up as a part of how we actually build production environments?
No, absolutely. So if you look at, the key here is that your production environment is no longer created by fingers, by people, by artists. The artists, the brains that we're using, all this experience of people and technology over decades is spent defining it via software, writing those tests, and so you know for sure the exact state. And literally you'll end up with a push button dashboard, which is revision 1.1.1.3, and this is 1.1.1.2. And you deploy every minor change in your network, your systems, your storage that's tied to your application. Well now, oh, there's a flaw. All you're literally doing is pressing roll back.
And so for folks like me, that's why I don't understand how Facebook works now. I can't ever find anything because there's always these new features showing up maybe. But I think we're at a point now where we can probably bring Amy back in to talk us out for today. And
where can you learn more? I think it's important.
I think
That was going to be one of my questions. Where can you learn more?
So if I was interested in things like this, I would actually go to the Pivotal website. I go to the Pivotal Extreme programming groups on Tuesday nights in San Francisco. I just happen to live there. But there's a lot of resources online. There's several books, Kamen methods, all those types of things. I'd like Colin also share some of those too.
YouTube is your friend. So a lot of times when we're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about this last mile. So Puppet, Chef, Puppet Labs, Cisco and EMC and VMware invested in them. You're going to see a lot of cool integrations. Go to their YouTube channel. Learning Puppet VMs. Also DevOps days all around the country. People, IT infrastructure guys just like us, which are learning how to be software defined. Connect with your peers, share your experiences in your code. It's good.
No, and this hits one of my favorite memes, which is community. It sounds like this is, you've got to learn to and from your community, and this is sort of a next-gen way of doing business. So I'm thinking of Facebook, it made me think of the meme. I'm glad you addressed the testing thing of, I only test in production or, in deployment. That's
absurd, actually.
So I think we have to have a software-defined unicorn, or at least a continuous delivery unicorn.
Right,
are you ready?
This and we're going to go.
Okay, well, let's go down here. Yeah, because we got it. This is too good.
Okay. So this is going to be version 1 of that unicorn?
Oh, yeah, version 1. Let's go. We're going to version this unicorn. Go. Yeah. The best part, viewers. All right, so, yeah.
Waterfall unicorn, and you're going to probably do...
I did Grumpy Cat Unicorn because
I wasn't pressured for production.
But now I hate you. I love we've got some memes going on here. So your favorite unicorn meme, you'll have to share it with us. So thank you, Colin. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time on Engineers Unplugged.